Hi everyone, thank you so much for joining. Good morning, good evening, namaste, hola, bonjour, geremed, terve, and marapan. This is Namya Joshi, your host for the day. Welcome to episode 97 of the podcast Each One, Teach 10, an amazing world of STEM, an inspiring venture where we'll be discussing that STEM is part of every day for every kid. We all will learn together how to build a STEM culture. Well, for today, my guest is Ben Whitaker, an educator since 2007 and now assistant principal and head of sixth form, has been at the forefront of digital innovation in education. He became a Google for Education certified educator, trainer, and innovator, and later joined Burnley College as curriculum manager and digital transformation lead. He's passionate about enhancing student experience through technology, and he's led the transition to Google Classroom and implemented BenQ interactive displays. He's also the host for a very popular podcast that is the EduFuturist podcast, where global educators share their insights on the future of education. It is my absolute honor to have you here today, Ben. So, how are you doing today?
I am very well. Thank you for inviting me and for doing what you're doing. 97 episodes down. Well done. It's not easy. Not many podcasts get beyond 10. So well done. And I'm very much looking forward to having this conversation today.
Thank you so much. I'm very happy to have you here today. So, how's the weather like today at your place?
It's a bit grey. So I'm in the northwest of England, not too far away from Manchester. So most people have heard of that and heard of at least one of the teams from there. I don't support either of them, but yeah, it's a bit grey. It's about 11 degrees centigrade, so a bit cold for most people as well. But at least it's not raining, which is what it normally does in Lancashire. So yeah, it's okay.
That's great to know. It's getting a little chillier here day by day in North India. So, I think we're expecting winter soon.
Yeah, but winter for you is a little bit different than winter for us, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. The winter for you is maybe you have to put a cardigan on. For us, like I still wear shorts all year round, so I'm okay. But it gets cold here.
I know, like here we have to be all covered up in sweaters and jackets, and when it gets like really cold in January. Otherwise, like it's getting like, less colder year by year due to climate change and global warming. Like my grandfather used to tell me that during his time, cold used to start like around like November, and now it starts in late December. So climate change, a lot of things happening.
Yeah.
Right. Amazing, absolute honor to have you here again. So, when you've spent like over 14 years in education, so can you share some key milestones in your journey that shaped your approach into integrating technology in education?
Yeah, for sure. I'll start with how I got into this in the first place. So I was at high school and at sixth form. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do at university. I was going to apply to do journalism. I was thinking about doing going into the army and becoming an officer in that space, but actually it became a decision that I took from 2 years out of learning. So I went and worked and did some voluntary work in youth and community work, and I loved that. And I realised that I enjoyed working with young people. I went into a school in York, which is not too far away from where I am, and I met a teacher there, Mr. Graves, who loved religious studies and philosophy, and I was just inspired by him. Decided that I was going to go and apply. Went to university, decided to become a teacher. But all the time there, I was very passionate about finding efficient ways to do what we needed to do. And as the job of a teacher, and any of your listeners who were or watchers who are teachers will know, the job of a teacher has got harder and harder and harder year on year. It seems there's more and more work, and that's not necessarily anybody's fault, but it's just the truth of where we are. And so I was trying to find efficient and effective ways to do that, and I had a couple of epiphany moments. The first epiphany moment was I was teaching an A-level class, so 17 and 18-year-old students, and those students I was teaching them about Aristotle and Plato, some key thoughts around that. And I was talking about Immanuel Kant was the next philosopher that we're talking about, and I gave a little bit of an intro. And this young student, Harvey Bishop, I still talk about him regularly, on the front row said, he said to me, he said, "Oh, sir," he said, "you're right in what you just said, because I watched a YouTube video about this, and I've been watching him about all the philosophers that you've been talking about, and you're right." And I became fact checked by YouTube. And so I realized that my role as a teacher is the person that had all the knowledge and information, and the young people somehow couldn't find it any other way. There was a shift because there was a knowledge and information overload or abundance, which meant that young people could learn in different ways. So the way that I taught had to shift. And second of all, I had another epiphany moment, and I've got two young daughters, 14 and 10 they are now. But when they were relatively younger than that, quite a lot younger than that, I used to sit marking essays with my green pen, because in the UK we use teachers marking green pen because red's aggressive, apparently. So we used to mark our papers in green pen, and I would have piles and piles of essays that I was marking in this green pen. And I would do it every night, every weekend. That's what I would spend my time doing. And one of my kids just said to me, "Dad, why are you always marking?" And it kind of hit me in the feels, because it felt like I was losing time with them, and they'd acknowledged it. So I said, I need to find a way to find a technology that helps me with the efficiencies around this. And that's when I started finding some of the Google for Education tools and some of the other tools that I talk about and work with now, which help me kind of create an efficiency and also some engagement for learners, leveraging technology that they were already young people were immersed in. So then obviously there were some other milestones in terms of like what I've done in terms of working with BenQ and Burnley College and the digital marketing elements. Some of them have all been, I suppose, a broader conversation being around. I've just been inquisitive. So milestones around, I got my Google for Education qualifications, level 1 and level 2, in about 2014, 2015. No, 2013 it was. And then I went through the Google Certified Innovator program in 2017. And there's just a few thousand of us around the world who've got that qualification. And then I became a Google Certified Coach. But then also some of these other elements that have sat in there in terms of my development of digital marketing skills and setting up businesses. And I left the classroom full time 3 years ago, just over 3 years ago, June 2021, after leading a college through the digitization of that came of the global pandemic. But actually, June 2021, I set up with my own as a freelance trainer, independent consultant and coach, and work with organizations and individuals to integrate some of this technology and come up with great ideas as well. So yeah, that I would say they were the milestones.
I mean, like, it is really inspiration that your journey in education begins with aspirations in journalism and military. But your passion, like you said, working with young people, was ignited through the voluntary work that you did. And inspired by a fellow educator, you chose to become a teacher. And over years, you focused on, finding efficient ways to make teachers' lives easier and help students learn in diverse, engaging ways. Since you've had personal experiences where you understood that every student learns differently, they just don't learn through what you are telling in the classroom. They might be, getting better information online, or they're able to grasp more online and then connect to your thoughts because they were able to understand better there. And your approach to integrating, technology stems from the need to manage knowledge overload and, leverage tech to enhance both teaching efficiency and student engagement in the classroom. That is inspirational. Right. So you worked, I think, very extensively with GSuite tools, like you said, and trained teachers globally. What are some of the key challenges educators encounter when adopting education technology? And how do you guide them in overcoming these obstacles?
Well, that's a big question. Okay, so there's a few things there. So one of the things I would say in terms of challenges is pace of change is a huge challenge. So any kind of educational technology, whether that's AI, whether that's Google for education tools, whether it's whatever it is, iPads, iPhone, the educational technology, that whether that's hardware, software, what is happening is it's moving at a fast pace. So educators in that sense are not at the front line, but they are at the front line in the same way. So if you were working in a tech industry, you know that you've got to be at the front end of your game in terms of technology and the emerging technologies, or else commercially there is no business. Whereas in education space, the consumers of this up and coming technology are using that, but the people that are teaching that, the educators in that space, haven't been born and aren't immersed in that in their own technology. So if you think about how the traditional things around boomers use Facebook, and millennials use Instagram, and Gen Zers and alphas use TikTok, it's like that as a concept is exactly the same in EdTech. So what I am used to using, which would be Instagram in that example, my teachers don't understand Instagram because they live in Facebook world, and the students that I were teaching were living in a Snapchat, TikTok world. And so what that then means is that the pace of change is very, very difficult for educators to keep up with. And that ties into the fact of the pressures that are on an educator to deal with here's an emerging technology that's going to change lives. It's going to think, and then you've got a curriculum overload. So they've got so many things to get through in terms of there's an assessment, like an obsession with exams and results. So it's all about how do you get that next grade up, that obsession with that. Educators then have also got to deal with the increase in terms of like social and emotional challenges and physical challenges in their classrooms. So certainly in the UK, but I know that this is similar around the world, like the increase in mental health diagnosis and the increase in neurodiversity, as well as a lack of agency support. So like we're closing down lots of mental health facilities, and we're closing down lots of support for special educational needs, for example, and then and social services. And then what we're doing is we're bringing that into the classroom, and what would have been supported outside by the classroom is left on educators' things. So teachers I know that are having to wash children's clothes, or that are having to provide food, or they're having to they're having to deal with horrendous safeguarding challenges, all because what was done by other agencies isn't there. And so there's that, and then that's without even mentioning the things like the cost of technology, the increase in cost of technology, the decrease in budgets, the increase in parental pressure, the disassociation that happens and disengagement that's happened post COVID, which is that not that students don't want to learn anymore, but the value that's been placed on going to school has shifted, and we see that in attendance decreases, and we see that in the amount of homeschoolers and alternative provision. So in sum, and we could probably talk about that for 20 minutes, the key challenges are that there are lots of key challenges. So I would say the key challenge is there are so many challenges that educators encounter. So even before you get to thinking about, should I use this app? Should I use this iPad or this Chromebook? You've got a million other things to think about, and therefore there is less time and training and support and budget to be able to then integrate that effectively. So how do we guide them in kind of overcoming that? I think one of my mantras has always been about it's about managed risk. So encouraging managed risk. So what do I mean by that? Is that having a play. So like the most people learn through play, through having a go. Like you don't learn to play the piano by learning what the keys are and what those letters, those annotation means on a musical score. You've got to play, you've got to practice, you've got to have a go. And I think from an educational perspective, I encourage that, but I also encourage the managed risk taking. So it's not just let's throw an app in front of students, or let's throw a piece of technology in front of students, but we do some risk taking and changing around. Okay, could you digitize something? Could you replace something, or substitute, or augment something in terms of your curriculum delivery or your teaching and learning, and then measure what's happened off the back of that. And then the second thing I would say that underpins that is I work hard with educators and leaders in education, whether that's policymakers or head teachers or whatever else that sits in that space. I work with them to develop a culture that allows for innovation and allows for managed risk taking. So I'd be asking them a question about how much free time do you give your educators, or are there some pressure elements that we can take away? What are the CPD opportunities for them? I think so. It's about creating a culture. So a lot of people go, let's do a policy, let's do a strategy, and I think they're all important, but it all must be underpinned by culture. So yeah, that's a short answer, even though it was long. It's a short answer to a very long question.
No, absolutely. I agree. The rapid pace of technological advancements, like you said, AI and Google tools, present challenges for educators, and many of whom struggle to keep up with these constant changes. And different generations, like you said, use various tools that makes adaptation quite difficult, especially when they have an overload of curriculum and growing social emotional challenges, along with mental health issues for students and with less availability of curing them. And again, teachers face pressure as tech cost rises, but at the same time the budgets are being cut down to help the educators. I think, like you said, overcome these obstacles. We need to focus on upon managed risk taking, where you're encouraging teachers to take calculated steps towards technology adoption while continuously measuring the progress and working diligently to achieve success. I mean, thank you so much for sharing all these thoughts. And I think people listening to us will agree that there are loads and loads of challenges, but that doesn't mean that we give up. We take upon them step by step. We understand the challenge and we understand the situation that we are in, and then take calculated measures so that we can achieve success slowly and steadily. Right.
Totally agree.
Amazing. Thank you. So, how do you see like all these tools that have been coming up revolutionizing education, particularly for both teachers and students?
So I would probably say like the revolutionized piece is an interesting one, and some people don't like that phrase. I regularly talk about the revolution of education, and it needs a revolution. In fact, we're just about this is a bit of an exclusive. We're just about to sign a book deal for EduFuturist around revolution in education, because a lot of people think we just need evolution. I understand why, because teachers are already under pressure. We've just talked about the challenges. So if we were talking about a revolution, which is like mass, it's like lots of change all at once. It's a lot to expect of people that are already got a lot expecting of them. I actually think that we can think about edtech tools and more broadly efficiency tools that aren't just edtech. So some of the artificial intelligence stuff that we talk about isn't just about, oh, this looks nice in Google Classroom or in quizzes or whatever else. We're talking about actual fundamental data management systems, and we're talking about teachers rather than having to put data in 3 different places. I remember when I used to teach, I used to mark a student's essay. It was a physical essay, so I had a pen in my hand. That's what I'm doing, gesturing. So I'd have a pen in my hand, and then I'd have to go through each essay and put that into a spreadsheet that was the departmental spreadsheet. So it was just on Google Sheets or Excel. And then I'd have to transfer that spreadsheet information into our management information system, which at that point was Sims. So I'd have to put it in there. And then what would happen is that data would then get accumulated and it would be taken out, put into a spreadsheet for us to analyze, and then do some intervention with that student. So I've gone from writing it here into a spreadsheet, into it, and then going back out to a spreadsheet and then back to the student. So I'm going through all that journey when actually the evidence tells us, the feedback, John Hattie's feedback and Dylan Williams stuff, that actually the immediacy of feedback to a learner has the biggest leverage in terms of student progress. So yes, the proximity and the class size has is a huge factor. That the Two Sigma problem from Benjamin Bloom talks about that. But actually, Hattie and William talk about this idea of immediacy of feedback. So if you mark something, put it through that process, and it takes 2, 3, 4 weeks to come back to the learner, it's got no. So what these tools are doing is bringing an immediacy of feedback. So a tool like practice sets in Google Classroom, for example. So the nature of a practice set, if anybody's not seen that, is it's support. It looks like a set of assessment questions, but it's not assessments to check understanding around. So here's a mark and a grade. It's a formative tool. So what that means is it's a practice. So I ask you a question through this practice set, and then automatically, using the artificial intelligence in there, it realizes, yes, I understand that. No, I don't understand that. And based on my answer, then gives me another set of questions or another set of learning that's personalized and individualized to me. So what that means then is, first of all, I'm getting immediate feedback. Second of all, I'm then getting misconceptions addressed. And third of all, it's giving me a data set that allows me as a teacher, or the teacher in that space, the educator, to have an understanding of, this is what my 30 students in this class are struggling with. This is what I need to refocus on. So it gives me the data. And added to that is it does individuals. So Ben struggles with factorizing, and actually then that's having an impact on his simultaneous equations, his trigonometry, so all the things he's struggling with there is fundamentally linked to his understanding of factorizing. And so what that then does is, this educational technology doesn't just digitize something. It really personalizes and individualizes learning. And like I said, that Benjamin Bloom 2 Sigma problem, where he talks about the thing that's going to have the biggest impact on learners, or and how quickly they learn, is what we really need is one-to-one, one teacher to one student. That's what we need, because that will have, if you had a one-to-one tutor for every subject, the pace at which you would learn and the ability for you to be able to retain information and then get what you need to get is but we don't have that because we can't scale it unless we have technology that allows that personalization. And that is a revolutionary, because if you think about the traditional of education, which has been one teacher to the masses teaching one size fits all curriculum, that then at a set point in time, those learners have got to sit in a formal space to see what they remember, and then get a grade that then gets them to the next level, that then they go to university, that then gets them into work, and then they go into work and they go, oh, I didn't learn any of this at school. Because the curriculum is not informed by industry, and it's not that fast pace. And so my whole conversation I'm having with people is this broad idea around, if you think about like that universal design for learning, is that this is revolutionary because it's personalizing the learner journey. It's meaning that the teacher is informed and can make data-informed decisions and gets that information. And then the most important bit for me, as somebody who's neurodiverse and who's got a brother who had special educational needs, and increasingly seeing this as a growing challenge across the world, is I can now have my individual needs met using technology that means my progress really matters. That is revolutionary. That is game changing, because we've gone from a 1 to 30 that's been 150 years old with exams to a personalized learning, like that martini thing, like that any place, anytime, anywhere, and also that idea that on-demand learning. So that's powerful.
Indeed, that is considerable and really, really powerful. I think, like you said, edtech tools, particularly artificial intelligence, are set to revolutionize education by transforming both student learning and teacher workflows. I think AI's ability to manage the fundamental data in schools allows both, like you said, personalized learning experiences. For students, like Practicer can tailor questions, provide immediate feedback, and address the misconceptions that students may have in real time. That offers more of individualized support in subjects, for example, math, where it's actually needed. And for teachers, AI enables more efficient data management and feedback processes, enhancing both digitalization and personalization in education. So both of them at the same time, which is ultimately going to make learning more adaptive and responsive to both teachers and students' needs. And like you said, that personalization is what we need, and with one-to-one learning and along with AI coming up, I think this will be the need of the hour. And if these things will be addressed, then students will be able to learn at a faster pace, and will be able to enhance those skills which are required for the coming future.
Absolutely. So it's that idea that it's skills based and knowledge and behaviours, rather than this is what the prescribed curriculum is. This is what we have to get through because this is what we've always taught. It's readiness for life, work, and I actually think it's more than industry, to be honest, because I think a lot of what we've done is about preparing young people for work, and the world of work will not look like anything that we've ever encountered. So then we have to have if we're going to have a revolution in work, then we need a revolution in education to prepare for that.
Absolutely, that is totally agreeable. And I think that's a key takeaway for today. Revolution in work and revolution in education will go hand in hand. Absolutely. Right. So, why do you believe that digital marketing is the central key to education and leadership? And how can schools and educators leverage it effectively?
I think from I would say it's central. I think it's one part of a whole suite of ideas. So digital marketing, in my understanding, is the ability, and in fact, could even replace and get that word digital out of there. I think marketing is central, and obviously marketing's had a bit of a dirty phrase, as seen as a bit of a dirty phrase. It's like it's this idea that almost we're trying to. Because a lot of marketing is telling you need something when you don't really need it. So that's think about how businesses market. They make you feel like you need something. I need the latest iPhone. I need the latest X, Y, and Z. I need another pair of trainers. Do I really? But ultimately, the principle around good marketing is ensuring that you get the right product at the right price to the right person using the right processes in the right way. And it's the 7 P's of marketing that come up in a lot of the theory around marketing. And interestingly, that's what education is. I think everything in education is about ensuring that young people get the right product in the right place at the right time, using the right processes, and even though that sounds a little bit like it's just trying to make something link. I've been very fortunate that I was a religious studies teacher, so I taught religious studies and philosophy, and a little bit of sociology as well, and then left the classroom and went to work for a digital marketing agency to run their digital marketing apprenticeships, as you mentioned in the intro. So what that means is that I went from teaching about religion and all that kind of ideology and philosophy, theology stuff, into talking about ones and zeros and digital. And I actually realized there's a lot of crossover. There's a lot of crossover between the two. And interesting, my phrase there in terms of how it's interesting is that we need to, how we position the purpose of education and the products that we're offering. Like the product we're offering is not exam grades, but actually, or performance table, although that is part of it. So like we're the number one school in the country, or we've got the highest pass rate in this, like excuse me, and we've got all these numbers of A's and A stars and whatever else. We've got this many students into university. Yes, that is part of the marketing conversation. Actually, what we're talking about here is what the product is that young people are ready for work and life. That is the why it becomes really important. And I think how do we leverage that effectively is that we know what our product is, or are we trying to market the wrong thing? Are we trying to sell the wrong thing? And interestingly, we often talk about a lack of engagement from young people, and students aren't interested in school and they aren't interested in learning, and we've got disaffection in this, and attendances are really bad and behaviour's got really bad. Let me tell you where behaviour hasn't got bad. TikTok, Roblox, Minecraft, Xbox, FIFA. Give someone my kids one of them loves swimming, one of them loves dancing. They don't have any issue with disengagement. Like it's because they're doing something they're interested in. Because the products that we are selling isn't the product that these people need to be buying. Now, there is going to be a lot of people, if a lot of people listen to it, if there's a lot of people listen to this and hear that, they'll think, oh, how dare he? How dare he? Because he's saying that education is a product. It's like commoditizing in it. It's like a transactional thing. No, I just think young people don't want what we're selling. And so therefore, leadership and educators in that space need to think about what the product is we're selling. And therefore, because the product is I'm preparing you for work and life, rather than I can get you to get a grade 9 in maths, they're saying I want you to develop the skills, knowledge, and behaviours to be able to thrive in a world that's changing. And one of those things is going to be require you to be numerate and an awareness of this. Actually, I think a lot of what we put in our curriculum is peripheral and nonsense. I just think it is. And therefore, that's the reason why I have disengagement. So the reason why I work in marketing as well, so I have a marketing agency and I support organisations in that space. Like I heard somebody say the other day that they think that everybody needs to have X product. I was like, do they? Is that just because you like it? Because I don't think people really need it. Because if they were, you'd be a multimillionaire and you're not. So you've got to think about the product you're selling, and education as a product. I don't think our consumers want it. The system that we've got now, what they do care about is having a curiosity and a system that allows for them to thrive and do what they need to do and enjoy. Just an interesting thought.
Indeed. I mean, that is so true that, like you said, digital marketing is essential in education and leadership because it's going to ensure that the right message reaches the right audience at the right time. And the core principle of marketing, delivering the right product at the right place to the right person, applies to school and education as well. In education, the product is not getting marks or getting the 4.0 GPA. It is preparing young people for life and work in the future, which ultimately is going to matter. And school and educators need to effectively position and promote this purpose, ensuring that their mission resonates with the stakeholders. And by leveraging the digital marketing, schools, I believe, can better communicate their values, attract students, and align with the community and societal needs, and not with what they want to get done.
100%. That is it. That is it. It's not about what you want. I fundamentally talked about when I talk to businesses and I talk about one of the biggest issues with organizations is when they think that they are the hero of the story and that what their product is the hero product. It's only a hero product and they are only the hero if they can guide the actual hero in the story, which is the customer, and the customer, we are meeting what they need and what their pain points are, or else you haven't got a business and you haven't got an organization. So, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. So we've had a really good discussion till now, and I have a very fun question to ask you. So if you were given a chance to explore the ocean or the space, what would you choose?
Oh, goodness me. Well, I'm intrigued by both. I, I mean, I actually think, interestingly, that I'm gonna say the ocean, and the reason why is not because I'm not interested in space, but interestingly, I'm led to believe, and I haven't fact checked this, but so um, feel free if it's wrong to shout at me. But NASA, as an organisation, originally started looking at the ocean and they were working on the ocean, and actually it diversified and became a space exploration organization. And some people say that's because of what they must have found at the bottom of the ocean. We need to get off of this planet and find somewhere else to live. But I actually think there's so much undiscovered, even on our own planet, which is in the oceans. I would be interested in. And also, I think we acknowledge that in the ocean, I think there's a lot that our world depends on, of making sure our oceans are clean, are they're the lifeblood of what we do. So, like, I'm intrigued by the Pacific Ocean, the garbage patch, and like the work that people are doing in that space, and the microplastics projects that people are doing to try and take plastics out of the water, and yeah, so I'm intrigued in that space. But I do get that why people would say space, because I think my first reaction would have been space until I realised that, or until I heard that about NASA. So that's where I would go.
And that's interesting. Actually, like I would kind of agree with you because getting to the space, of course, is not that easy for everybody. Not everybody can become an astronaut. So till you have the time, like if you have not become an astronaut yet, you can go ahead and explore the ocean because you have the, of course, the abilities that you need to do that. And I think it would be nice to support the cause, like clearing out the ocean or helping to save the biodiversity. And again, like I had this thought, I saw like kind of a underground temple in Minecraft inside the ocean. So that just kind of intrigued me that if somebody I go do snorkeling, would I be able to find like, you know, an underground temple which has a lot of gold coins in it. So that was like one of the things on my checklist. So maybe someday I go and I'm able to find it. I
Well,
can,
the hidden city of Atlantis must be in there somewhere.
yeah,
It's talked
somewhere.
about in also, so let's maybe.
Yep, of course. I think the Bermuda Triangle would be like a key on everybody's checklist. That it's so controversial that something that happens there, is that true? Would I be able to find the Titanic or any, boat that's drowned? Maybe. Who knows?
Yeah, maybe.
Or maybe if you go to the space, does Earth actually have two moons? Or like, is it just a fantasy or a fake news? You never know. Just a lot to explore. We have a lot of
Maybe, yeah.
comments coming in. Yep. Ben, most delightful welcome to the wondrous show of Wonder Namya. Thank you so much, sir, for joining. 11 degree is very cold for us. Yeah, it is. Such a collaborative approach of achieving milestones. Quite interesting, Ben. Absolutely, decrease in budget is one of the challenges. Realistic presentation of challenges an educator has to go through it. I appreciate Ben's wide vision in reforming the educational needs and merging fundamental digital tools in imparting education. Absolutely. Students should get the basic tech skills in school so that they can cope up in the unis. Yes, we need that. Moreover, personalized learning enhances one's confidence and dedication towards any task. Um, Miss Monica is hell scared of water. So also, like you said, Atlantis. So we also have Dwarka Ji, the underground temple. It was like a city of Lord, where Lord Krishna used to be there. And there is a speculation that it drowned and it is underneath the ocean now. And people have, made lots of videos on YouTube by showcasing that some scriptures have been found, but it is not like, totally proven as of now. But maybe in the future it can be. As per as the research, as the moon is shifting away from Earth, we may have 25 hours a day. Yep, that means we have to wake up 1 hour earlier so that we get to sleep on time. That's what I was thinking when I got to know this news. Right, lots of fun questions and comments coming in. Ben, what inspired you to start the Edu Futurist podcast and how has it evolved over time? And what trends or innovations excite you the most at the moment?
So we started the EduFuturist podcast about 9 years ago. Me and Dan Fitzpatrick, who I know a lot of people will know from around the world, the AI educator, used to work together, and we wanted to, similar to what you're doing here, help teachers. So it started as the EduTech project. So we were helping teachers navigate technology. That's what we were trying to do, help people navigate the changing world of that. And then it evolved into becoming more broadly talking about, rather than just technology, because we realized that based on even the question you talked about earlier, the challenges for technology actually were based in a lot of fundamental issues with where education is and where it needs to be. So we started talking about that. It's evolved into becoming now discussion with thought leaders from all areas of life, and then referring it back into education. So we might have a person from finance that's talking about how the lessons that they learned in learning and development and what that has meant and what we could learn in education, or an engineer. So we had a head of engineering education was talking about not just about STEM and about engineering education, but more about the roles and the computational thinking and agility and all the things that go with that. How we can learn from that. So we've been very fortunate. We've interviewed some incredible people, including Siddhartha Mitra, who was the pioneer of the hole in the wall experiment, a wonderful human being. We interviewed Josh Dawn, who set up Synthesis School, which was essentially it was called Ad Astra originally, but it was basically Elon Musk asked him to start a school for his children at SpaceX. So we've interviewed some incredible people, and it's evolved to become more of a conversation. But actually, as we've grown, we decided that one of the things that has been a challenge is that we seem to be pointing, this is where we need to go. And it almost came across that we were saying that educators and people who work in education aren't doing the right thing, and they're not working hard enough. And that was exactly the opposite of what we were saying. So we decided that we needed to celebrate educators and educational leaders and people that are making a difference. So we started an awards event. So we'd still do our podcast where we're saying this is where we need to go, but the awards is about celebrating those who are trying to get there and those who are making a difference to young people and to learners who of all ages. So we do that, and then it's evolved into like a wolf pack community. So you'll see our logo is a wolf, and that's based on Rudyard Kipling's poem about the lower the jungle. And in that, the lower the jungle, it's one of the lines is the strength of the pack is the wolf, and the strength of the wolf is the pack. So it's that idea that we are better together. We need to have mavericks. We need to have people that are individual wolves that are going to go and disrupt some stuff, but we are better as wolves when we're in a pack. So it's about collaboration, and that's how it's evolved.
Indeed, that is amazing that you started around like 9 years ago, along with Patrick, and you were involved in an edutech project, and that led to focusing upon exploring the intersection of technology with core educational issues. And over time, the podcast has evolved into a platform for discussions with leaders across education and various fields, examining key topics, key roles in education, and of course, computational thinking. And notably, the podcast, like you said, now also hosts an award event to celebrate educators making a difference, and of course, fostering a supportive community that is the wolf pack. The wolf is, having the strength in the pack, and the pack has the strength in the wolf, and you're better together. Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and we're 300 episodes deep, right? So we've interviewed, we've done more than 300 episodes in this space, plus lots of 7 awards events, and lots of other stuff in that space as well.
Amazing. That is really inspirational. As a fellow podcaster, like I'm looking forward to accomplish that number of episodes someday in the future. And we're marking 100 soon, so like 2 more to go to get a century. Right. So it was amazing, talking to you, Ben. And before we sum up, we would love to know where we can find you online, and what message would you like to give to the audience that is listening to us right now?
So in terms of finding me online, I am, you can see in the handle there on the thing, I'm at It's Ben Whitaker. It's just got 1 T in Whitaker. That's my social media handle. So I'm on Instagram, X, and LinkedIn primarily. LinkedIn is where I spend most of my time nowadays, because obviously I'm working with organizations and individuals in that space. But EduFuturist podcast, you can find that on any of the podcast channels and on YouTube. But the play, and there's a website for edufuturist.com. But I would massively ask people to find out about the Ideas Guy. So the Ideas Guy, which we haven't touched in yet, is my own personal brand. I've got a book that's coming out in the new year. Early in the new year, it might be the end of this year. We'll see where we get to with editing. It's with the editor at the moment. But ultimately, theideasguide.io is my website, which talks about my thoughts around how we can help people form and frame ideas, not just in education, but in business and in life and in authenticity. So it's based around those 5 ideas. So yeah, the ideas.io, and you can sign up. I have a weekly newsletter that goes out on a Friday that you can subscribe for. I would love people to do that. But yeah, so in terms of leaving a message, I think somebody said to me, if you think about your life mantra, what would it be? I think it comes to this idea that with the same measure that you use is the measure that will come back to you. So what that then generally means is what are you wanting to come back to you, then you need to invest that in other people. So it might not come back from the same person. It might take a few years to come back around, but what goes around comes around. And I'm absolutely a believer that you've got to invest in people and invest in things just because it's the right thing to do, because that's what you would want somebody to do for you and your children and the people you care about. So if I was to give a message and leave a message to anybody, that education and future education is dependent on how much we care about others and how we then make a difference. And as it says in the chat there, the ripple effect, you create something else, and it might not come back to you from that same person, but the universe has a really interesting way. We might call it karma, we might call it fate, we might call it something else, but ultimately the same measure that you use, it comes back to you eventually. So yeah, let's do that in education, and let's just keep giving and helping people. So that's why I was intrigued when you talked about each one teach 10, because what you're talking about here is we've got a responsibility, we've got a moral responsibility to help each other and to share what we're learning. So thank you for doing what you're doing. I'm absolutely sure you'll get to the big numbers. I'm looking forward to hearing about how this develops. But I think it's people who are curious and are keen and who are pushing this, like yourself, Namya, that make this that can transform education and then ultimately transform the world. So
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And like you said, in the end of the day, what matters is that you do good deeds. And of course, listening to you reminds me of this fact that education's future lies in the balance of innovation and connection, where technology empowers both students and teachers, but humanity remains at the heart of learning. Thank you so much for coming at the podcast and sharing your thoughts today.
no problem at all. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you everyone for joining and listening to this episode. And I'll see you on the next one. Till then, each one, each 10. Have a nice day.